You're listening to Drinks and a Movie with your host, Rudy. Spoiler alert.
Let's do it. All right. Drinks and a Movie podcast. Yo, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, checking out the new episode. We are back. It's been a break time for about a month here. We're recording in November. We're going to be dropping this probably the day before Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving. I'm here with Carissa, and we've got Jocelyn.
Hello.
First time on the show.
Woo!
And we're going to be talking Eli Roths Thanksgiving. But first, we're going to dig into, since it is Thanksgiving time, we're going to try out some wild turkey. This is the new limited edition 70th anniversary Jimmy Russell release, aged 8 years. So special Wild Turkey 101. And yeah, let's dig in. I've got a regular little mini bottle of 101 to do a side-by-side.
Classic.
But first, let's go ahead and start with this new bottle here. So...
First timer.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Oh, man, I went right for it.
Yeah.
Now you'll go.
Ooh, okay.
So it does... I like to think it does smell good, right?
It does smell good.
You seemed a little disturbed by the wild turkey. So what do you think... When you think wild turkey, and you're a bartender,
Listen,
right? Are you a bartender too?
Okay.
bartended. You know what we think when we think wild turkey. I'm from Florida, yo.
Florida.
You know exactly what I think about wild turkey. My good old regular is over 60. I'll drink wild turkey. Wild turkey neat.
So that's the funny thing, right? Is I feel like growing up, you think of Wild Turkey 101 as like a bullshit, like college, like it's $20, so you're in college, you're shooting wild turkey, and they do, what's that? There's like the 3 horsemen or whatever. The
Four horsemen, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Jack,
apocalypse.
Jim, Johnny, and then Jose.
Jose was the last.
Oh, I thought it's all J's. Okay, I thought Wild Turkey was one of those, but I know there's some weird like concoctions people make with it. So, you know, I always thought that a lot too, and it was a little ways into my whiskey bourbon journey that I realized that Wild Turkey is like some of the best shit in the game. Like everyone hypes Buffalo Trace Distillery and all that. Like my top heavy hitters are Beam, right? So the Knob Creek stuff. And then basically anything Wild Turkey. Wild Turkey might be number 1 in my heart now, to be honest. Yeah,
I love that.
And I really mean it, like Wild Turkey 101, and I'm telling everyone, it's like some of the best bourbon in the game. So anyone who thinks like, hey, it's some bullshit college shooter drink, like try it again. Like Wild Turkey 101 is actually legit. Like a desert island, you know, whiskey. Like that's one I might choose, you know, if I have to stay within a certain range.
I'm into that.
Yeah, full disclosure, a lot of bartenders don't go to bartending school, but I did. And it really set me up. Yeah. And for me, my bartending instructor guy, he was like totally like talked up Wild Turkey. So,
really?
Oh yeah. So I never had like I never knew it was a college whiskey.
I mean, in Florida, it definitely will because like obviously not these bottles, but Wild Turkey was our well bottle.
Okay.
We did Wild Turkey as our well.
Gotcha.
But that was just
because it's on the cheaper side, like much like regular Jack Daniels and like white label Jim Beam, where it's like that
middle
$15 to $25 range.
Yeah. And
but of those, like Wild Turkey 101 to me is like by far the most superior.
Yeah,
by a lot. Like,
it's so funny because you don't see a lot of Wild Turkey in California, but in Florida, and I feel like all like East Coast everywhere.
Yeah, I do notice that there are a lot of bars that don't even carry 101 out here, which is kind of wild.
Which is wild. Which is wild.
Here we go.
But that is a full nose. Oh my goodness.
It is.
It's good. It's
I didn't smell it. I went for it too.
Quintessential, like, you know, your caramel notes, but a little cinnamon. I'm going to go for the taste.
He's going for the taste.
Oh, that's actually nice.
Pensive. He's pensive. He's concentrating.
Yeah, no, it is good. I did get, my friend got a bottle too, so I got to try his. And I do like it.
Oh, I do smell the caramel.
Good. Yeah, definitely caramel.
It is, and it's nice. And like this one, like Rudy knows, like I can't do any of the hard liquor stuff a lot. This was actually nice. Like, I mean, like it kind of sits, it settles, but you don't get that really kind of weird aftertaste or the like it's nice.
Agree.
It dissipates really fast.
Yeah.
All right, Wild Turkey.
It is like strong at first, but yeah, none of that like residual like, oh God, what did I just do?
It is pretty full bodied, and it has like a dry characteristic to it, this one. And not as sweet as I think some of the 101s can get. I'm actually going to try the regular one now.
Ooh, okay.
Unless I did mix my glass up at some point, which would be a real bummer. But I'm just curious. So, yeah, it just smells more muted. Here we go.
What do you think?
It's like a thinner version, actually. So the 70th anniversary. Sorry, it's like first drinks of the day. So it's the 70th anniversary, the Jimmy Russell 8-year one, is definitely more like full-bodied, a little more viscous. On the actual flavor, I guess it's not like wildly different. It's just more rich. I think that's the best way to put it. It's definitely more rich. I don't know if you guys want to do a little comparison. There's
all right, let me see
Sure.
it. Yep, I'm in. Oh, it's way more rich.
Well, that's the other one. This is the
that one's way more.
Oh, okay,
That one,
gotcha,
the first
yeah.
one's
The
way more
70th
rich.
anniversary,
That
yeah.
one sits more. It's
Yeah.
way more full, way more caramel. Even like the nose of it.
Yeah, right.
It's like more like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very subtle, very dainty on the nose.
That's a good word,
Dainty.
yeah.
Dainty on the nose, and then
We're lit.
I like it though.
It's
Again,
good, though.
very
Yeah, it's
delicate.
good.
Right?
Oh, that one doesn't have as much bite. The other one's bite was like fine, but this one's very, very subtle, very enjoyable, actually. Not like a normal whiskey. Smooth, very smooth.
Both are, yeah. Good job, Wild Turkey. I
Yeah.
haven't had you in years.
Yeah, they're very good. Yeah,
Both are
70th,
good.
70th anniversary is no joke. I wish I could have got a backup bottle. I should have when I had the chance, but
How much?
50, which is dope because like limited
That's
edition
amazing.
stuff
Oh
like this,
yeah,
Yeah.
100.
they make it so expensive. And since Campari became like the parent company to Wild Turkey, I'm guessing it's because they are running it now.
Really,
They're-
Campari, like the liqueur. Or
Yeah, there's a big like Campari is like one of the big
Yeah.
interesting.
yeah.
But
But they you know, a lot of their limited edition shit is like super expensive. Like they'll put out bottles that are like $300 SRP, so people are kind of crazy about it. But I don't know if it's to battle the secondary market and stuff. That's all whiskey nerd stuff. We don't have to get into that. But
I love that you know it
Yeah.
though. They
I
probably
try.
still wanted to keep it at like a price point that made sense for their clientele. I feel
yeah, like a Wild Turkey 101. And Jimmy Russell has been at it for 70 years. You know, master distiller who started like from the bottom, worked his way up. Like he's one of those OGs that just like, yo, yeah, exactly. No, Wild Turkey 101 doesn't need to have all these crazy age statements. 101 proof is right in the pocket. Keep the prices down. Like exactly what bourbon originally was, right? Like for the people, for the working people. Like you go home, you're not trying to spend $100, $200 on some whiskey.
No.
It's like you just worked in the coal mines. And you know,
Gotta be
you're
cost effective.
Relax,
yeah, and you just want to have a drink.
Exactly. Wind down.
But yeah, moving on. Before we jump into Eli Roths Thanksgiving, which came out a year ago, right?
Yep.
2023. Okay, so I'm glad. I didn't want to do it last year. I was like, let me wait a year and see how this kind of plays out.
Give some breathing room.
Yeah. But before we dig in, so Jocelyn, first time on the show. Okay, thank you
Yes.
for joining
Oh,
us.
thank you for having me.
I know you're a big horror movie fan as well, just like Carissa, and you've got your own podcast.
I
Tell us
do.
about it.
Yes. So I have Too Ghoul for School, the podcast. It's a death style podcast for the morbidly inclined. Yeah, I have a good couple seasons in hand, and I'm hoping to expand on that. So basically, you know, I have basically what I wish I had when I was getting into my spooky season of my life, which was, you know, I mean, I've always been into spooky things and I grew up on horror films. So that's always been huge for me. But I've always had like a love-hate relationship with horror films, I will say. They were like that thing that like, again, when you go, we talked about this, when you go to Blockbuster, it was like that aisle, like not quite the adults only aisle, like obviously, not, but Blockbuster didn't have that. But you know, at the video store, it was like, ooh, like these creepy,
Scary
like,
covers that like I'm not allowed to go, and I just want to read them and look at them and be like, wow, like
Exactly. That's how it felt. You're like, oh, maybe I'll see a little bit of something gory, like a little. So, yeah, you know, I investigate different aspects of the macabre and dark. I've done like, you know, I try to find a way to make spooky season year round. So, I have episodes that delve into like spooky ghost stories for Christmas, and I go into like the Wiccan pagan origins of like Easter, because like I am practicing witch pagan person. I just have an interest in the mystic and the macabre. So if you're interested, To Go for School, the podcast.
To Go for School.
I love that. Better teach them too. None of these people know what Easter or Christmas is about.
Yeah, yes. And I also go into origins of Halloween and stuff. So it's fun. I enjoy it very much.
I did listen to a couple, and I guess I'm missing out. I feel like maybe I only saw like a few episodes. It looked like there was a big gap, but so I got to check it again. But I did listen to the Halloween Samhain. Probably your first episode, I think, or second one.
It was a bold episode to pick for my first, but it was. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, no, for sure. I used to be super like nerdy into Halloween and all that stuff. Like I don't remember anything now, and I can really relate to the the whole video store horror aisle covers, because Carissa and I have probably talked about this in the past, but when I was really young, I like hated horror movies, couldn't watch them. Like I couldn't even, when I was a kid, I couldn't go down that aisle. I like refused to walk that way. I would just like wait for my parents or whatever.
No, I feel like it was similar for me, but at the same time, it was like kind of like I didn't want to look, but it was like a car accident. It was like, don't look, but like, ooh, like,
yeah,
no.
It's still intriguing.
Yeah,
like the one that's always etched in my brain is the cover for Child's Play 3.
That one always...
Part 3. Yeah, part 3.
Wait.
Because part 3 is just like the big close-up of the face. You know what I mean? And then part 2 is like the Jack in a Box.
That's the one that
was stuck in my head.
That's what
Sorry,
I was
Jack.
Mine was part
Chucky's
3.
back.
Yeah.
That was... It's still in my brain. Oh my God. And he's about to cut the...
Yeah.
That one... In my brain, that's the one that I'm just
me too.
That's so funny that it's 3 for you. It's definitely 2 for me.
2 for me. I was gonna say. I think that's what I thought you were.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, those ones just always stick, and it's so funny. Like Child's Play 3, just such a ridiculous. Like I feel like it was already going towards like the humor in the second one.
Yeah,
oh,
because I recently rewatched them all after I finished the Chucky series. I had like a couple weeks of, I call it Chucky mania, where I was just watching them every day. But
they're really good.
Yeah.
I mean, the first one too.
No, the first one is stellar. It's such a great movie. I mean, the other ones are good too, but the first one is like still in the horror spirit.
Yeah.
And there's there's the humor and the fact that it's a doll, right?
Yes.
But beyond that, like I remember when he electrocutes that guy to death, fucked me up.
Oh my God. Dude, you know what my favorite part, like one of my favorite part about the second, like the intro where like, they like grab the head and they take it and then it's like in the factory and it's like dripping and they're
So
making the dolls.
good.
And I'm just like, man, I remember the feeling. I'm like, oh.
My favorite moment in the second one is because they already have the other doll and it's named Tommy.
Yeah.
And then he destroys it and he buries it in the backyard. And later on, when he pretends to be Tommy, and they're like, "Yeah, see, that's like ask him his name," and it's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Hi, I'm," and his eyes like look the other way, Tommy. And it's like he takes a second to think about
Tommy.
Yeah,
I remember
like
that
the comedic timing,
so good.
just the pause and like the eyes, and you hear like the clicking, like the Tommy,
the eyes moving back and forth. You can hear. Yes, it was
iconic.
But man, all right, yeah. Sorry, this is gonna turn into the Child's Play.
I know.
I know.
But all right, Thanksgiving, Eli Roths. So, first off, we got 2007. We get Grindhouse. We get fake trailers. Anyone who hasn't seen it, go see it. One of the great fake trailers, slasher, like super 16 millimeter look, ripping off Halloween 2 with that POV in the kitchen. We get Thanksgiving. A lot of excitement. I think we're all hoping that we're going to get this movie someday. Who knew it would take, 16 plus years to get it? But we get it. It came out last year. I saw it opening night, and then I went again and saw it on Thanksgiving night after dinner. I took my dad. It was a really good time. Did you all see this opening night, and was it something you were looking forward to?
I saw it. I did not see it opening night, but I did see it like within the first week that it opened. And I wasn't too sure what to think because I was like, all right, I like to go into my movies blind. I'm like, I don't like to know anything. I don't like to see anything. And I remember sitting there and at the very beginning, I'm like, what the fuck I was like, wait a second. I'm like, this is an Eli Roth movie. I was like, wait a second, because it felt so teen scream, campy, and I was just like, okay. And then obviously, you know, when we get into it, I'm like, oh my god, like this is gonna be crazy. So I was really excited about it.
No, yeah, I did not actually watch it last year. Viewing it for this podcast was my first viewing, full confession.
Oh, shit, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yes. So, no, it was very on theme. And yeah, similarly, I will say I was a little disappointed that it didn't have like that grainy 16 millimeter, like grindhouse, you know, feel.
Yeah.
But I think that the way that Eli Roth handled everything was amazing and very entertaining. So we'll get more into it, I'm sure. But yeah.
So I'll drop the synopsis real quick. I always forget to do that, and I need to be better now that we're in season fucking 7 of this show. But,
Right?
Holy moly, congratulations.
oh, thank you. I'm trying. Let's see. After a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts, the birthplace of the infamous holiday. So, number one, this opening, we got to start with this opening. So I was really looking forward to seeing Eli Roth back into form. It's been a minute since he's done a horror film. He did that House with the Clock in the Walls or whatever. I never saw it, but it was like a more kids intro to horror type movie.
Oh, weird.
He did, that Death Wish remake with Bruce Willis. I feel like there was something else in the mix that I'm not thinking, you know. But it was great when I saw the announcement that he was finally doing it, and they churned it out real fast. I don't know if you follow him on social media, but like real quick, because I know he was already doing that Borderlands movie, which just came out and like bombed really badly.
Oh yeah.
Like I think at the same time, or that was even done before this. But looking on the Instagram, I'm like, oh shit! It's like, hey, we're doing the movie, and then a month later, it's like, yeah, we're wrapped. And then a month after, that's like, here's the trailer. I was like, hell yeah! You know, it felt like very fast.
I think it was fast,
like super fast.
Even Ben watching it, he's like, they filmed this fast. I was like, how do you know, bro? I was like, how can you tell?
Well, it is, man. That's a curious or an interesting insight right there. I really loved it because again, back to form for Eli Roth, but now like in a slasher movie, right? Like obviously very 80s inspired. And I feel like for me, he nails it on the head. Like I do love this movie. I really enjoy it. It's going to be a every year watch for sure. In that opening scene, this is one of my favorite just like opening sequences in a movie I've seen in a while. Like still watching it again this year, I'm like, dude, this whole Black Friday opening is perfect.
Like, mwah, like, oh, chef's kiss. Like, he really, just the entire, I'm like, what better way to set up a fucking movie? You know, what better way to set up a movie like this? I was like, oh, it was so perfect. And just like the characters and just like the Boston accents and everybody being crazy. I was like, no, he did. Like, he did. He nailed it right on the head. With all of that,
the tropes of the characters, now that you mention it, were fantastic because you don't have to feel bad that you can sense something terrible is about to happen. And it truly does. It 100%. Really does.
Yeah, I love even opening up, like first shot, just the POV walking up to the house. Like, your classic, here we go, you know. And then, but the twist it on you, and it's not the killer, but then surprise. You know?
Right?
Now that I think about it.
I will, Ian, I was very astute, my husband. He called some things. So I was like, oh, okay. All right.
Oh, man. Did he guess that?
He did.
Did you guess that?
I did.
I think you did. Yeah, I remember.
Good
did,
job.
right?
I was doubting him throughout the movie because there was definitely other hints and stuff.
Spoiler
It very much reminded me of Scream for that. The way they were really great about like making you be like, wait, is it this guy? Is it that guy? And I was like, wait, but there could be two based off of his, what he was thinking. Because that's kind of how, spoiler alert, Scream goes.
Yeah, right. But then also, didn't they was it this movie where they had somebody different play?
Yeah, I saw an interview with Eli Roth where he said every time that the killer shows up, John Carver, there's a different stunt person doing the part so that the size isn't always exactly the same.
Yeah, right.
You know, so it's always just a little different.
I really hinged on that as like, I was like, oh, it's probably dumb to worry about that. Because he had like a very kind of
thin sometimes.
Yeah.
smaller,
Pretty slender and
slender. The shoulders, I was like, the shoulders are quite slender for a male. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it made me like. But I'm like, oh well, that could mean nothing in movie world, but
Or it could mean everything.
it could.
We don't know.
Yes,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah, what was I gonna say with that? I know there was never a point for me where I thought it was him, to be honest. Like it never even crossed my mind. Looking at it again, you know, multiple viewings.
I would have been there with you, and I still even was, even with Ian, my husband, saying that it's probably him because the POV he felt gave it away, and I was like,
okay.
I just so much of the film did not feel like he had a real fight in this to me, and then they reveal at the end why.
Yeah. That's funny with the POV. That gave me, like, for me, I feel like it gave me more reason to think it wasn't him.
See, it did the opposite.
It's
When
like,
I walked in,
you're
I was
just like doing the twist. Like,
yeah. But see, that's the
guess I
thing. I
haven't connected
remember
it.
I was like, I don't know, because I'm always looking for the thing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe that's like the red herring. Like they're trying to make you think it is, and it's not, and then it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, and then that entire opening dialogue with them, when she's like, oh, you know, a single guy that you're not going to be single for long. Well, because I just rewatched
but you got
it.
that, on the rewatch for
On the
sure.
rewatch,
but
for
the
sure.
first time.
Oh no! For the first time, I didn't think anything like that. But then when I was doing the rewatch, I'm like, there's so many like little nice little hidden gems throughout that I'm like, oh.
Wait,
And
was
just moments where he's kind of like absent from what's going on too. You know. It's like,
Yeah, I got kind of a heads up from some friends we were camping with because I told them we were going to watch it, and she was just like, "Oh, the opening scene with the stampede."
My
And so
gosh.
I was like, we got pizza, and I was like, I'm gonna eat. I paused it when we started watching it. I kept like going through a little bit further in, and would pause because I was like, okay, I know that I'm gonna probably lose my appetite, so I'm gonna first eat these 2 slices of pizza. And I was so right to do that, because there's the part where, I mean, we're allowed to get spoiled.
scalped?
Oh, she gets scalped, and I literally
I was like, oh no. And Ben was watching. He's like, welp. And I was like, this is the kind of movie it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What a great intro for him. Terrifier 3 and then Thanksgiving.
Right.
He's going to think I'm psychotic.
You're really getting him just like, welcome to the world of horror.
But
Oh my goodness.
that was amazing. You know what I mean?
I loved all of it. Just establishing the characters really quickly and efficiently from those family gatherings. We pick up, you know, very quickly this idea, the rich family who runs the store and their dynamic. And then we've got, you know, Mitch and the cop and Gina Gershon and them. Gina Gershon, who still looks really good.
Amazing.
And looks the same. And also the grandmother, I forget which house, but they only show her for one shot. I think it's at that house. The grandmother is, I forget her name, but is the lady from Black Christmas, the first one who gets killed and is in the rocking chair at the window. Do you like Black Christmas?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, shit.
I
dude.
know.
Black Christmas is one of the greatest movies of all time.
We should watch Black Christmas.
We should.
I think it's on Tubi.
Ooh.
I was just talking about Tubi. You know. Lynn Griffith.
Is that her name?
Lynn Griffith,
I
yeah.
don't remember. Maybe, probably. Grandma.
Lynn Griffith.
Is Black Christmas in her credits?
Let's see. Curtains. Black Christmas, baby,
There it is.
1974.
I
Nice sleuthing.
I do want to, like, I'll just plant the seed right now. I do want to cover Black Christmas 2006. I haven't seen it since it came out. I already did the original Black Christmas in like season 1 of this podcast.
Oh, yes.
Because that's straight up like
We
one of my.
talked about that, right? Yeah, you did.
Yeah, we've talked about it. It's straight up one of my all-time favorite movies. That's another yearly watch. That's one that it's like some of the best directing in the game, and Bob Clark doesn't get enough credit for it. Like, if you really sit, watch it, like, it's incredibly well directed. It's fucking crazy that he made that and Christmas Story. But I digress.
What?
It's the same director. But Black Christmas,
The mouth
like,
is agape.
and it's before Halloween, so like Halloween gets credited with setting a lot of tropes, which kind of, you know, but like Black Christmas like really kind of did it all first. And if we want, we can talk like Bay of Blood, but Black Christmas to me is like the fucking format, and it has one of the best like final shots ever too.
Heck yeah.
But anyway, Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, baby.
Yeah, no, man, this opening, like, I just love the idea. Again, establishing the characters in a really quick way. And of course, doing Black Friday. like once they roll up and you see the crowd and the store, I was like,
running.
and you kind of know where like, oh, we know where this is going. It's going to be some mayhem and something crazy. And there's one part where that one cheerleader chick with the football player is like, I'm going to hit you twice, like 2 hits. First I hit you and then you hit the ground. Which was the quote from Inglourious Basterds.
I was going to say, that sounds familiar.
But, you know, when they break in to the store, everybody, and there's that moment. And it's funny how he's able to weave in this humor too, right? Where they're going in, and it's really disgusting when the dude's neck gets slashed on the glass coming in the door.
Oh, I screamed it.
And then he goes.
But then when he goes to get the waffle iron, and he's like trying to grab it, like,
oh, it's so good.
But you can't help but like laugh at that moment.
And you can't help to laugh when the lady, like, he's literally dying, and she goes,
she like takes it.
Oh my god!
So
and I'm just like, oh my! It was just like, oh my god! And, but then there's like moments like that. But then there's also moments where the kid's arm gets stepped on and broken, and you're like, oh, and it's so painful.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god, like.
And he didn't even want to go in.
He didn't even want to go in.
Can I just wait at the car? And she's like, nah, come in. He's like, ah, shit.
Gotta do this with me. Like, this is all your fault, girl. All you and your shitty friends going in there and taunting a bunch of people from Boston. Are you crazy?
Oh.
That is a thing, too. Like, so they make the group, maybe not all of them, that they're pretty unlikable from the get-go. And especially when they go in and when they're taunting. But I never quite, and tell me how you all felt about this, but I never quite felt like they're so insufferable that I absolutely want all of them to die and I hope they die.
Yeah.
Like, it never really went that way. It's like, you know, the one that was there on the phone, for sure, I'm like,
him.
I guess I know he is going to, like, for sure, he's not making
if
it out of
anybody,
here.
him.
Yeah.
He sucks.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, how'd y'all feel about like that aspect of it? Did it make you really want them to die? Like you were rooting against them? Like a Friday the 13th type situation or what?
No, I mean, the only one would be him that I was like, ooh, I'm like, this guy sucks. You know, everybody else was pretty, you know, chill.
I guess that's true, yeah.
Like he was the only one that was just like awful.
Yeah, I would say that in the car, I could tell, like, on the drive over there, they were really playing up the annoying, self-absorbed teenagers really well to where, and this is what I wanted to talk about with you mentioning these distinct characters, because the point is to, like you said, for like Friday the 13th, is make us want to see these characters get hurt or, you know, not feel so guilty for enjoying watching it. Not that, I mean, I don't know if I always enjoy watching people get slashed, but it's like you don't feel as like, oh, like you don't have that same pain. There's a little bit more of a Schadenfreude with it, as they say in German, which is like, you know, enjoyment of the suffering of someone else. That way, yeah, you can not be taken out of the horror film. But basically, I did notice that, like you were saying, a lot of these other teenagers, like there was the blonde girl who was like really annoying on her phone, and she had her lipstick, and she was putting it on, and the guy like brakes or pushed the gas and broke really fast. And she's like, "You owe me a new one. We are definitely going in there," and stuff. Yeah, there she was like, you know, I even feel like the director Eli Roth probably told them to play up certain facial expressions that, you know, you could just tell like they were really amping up the like dislikable aspect. I feel like as the film progressed and it was getting closer to like when some of them were going to get their comeuppance, like for her, the blonde girl, the Russian girl, I felt really bad for her, honestly. She seemed okay.
Yeah, she wasn't
she seemed okay.
Yeah, she was just kind of along for the ride.
Actually,
she wasn't a shitty person.
I was like, don't kill the dad. The dad seems cool as
he
hell.
Seems like he's like protecting her. Yeah.
And I mean, yeah.
I do. I think they all do a pretty good job. Though, you know, they do play it up, but I think it works for the movie, and I do buy them, like that obnoxious jock kind of attitude and whatnot. There's some lines that they say that are goofy as hell, but I feel like it's more by design. Like there's a moment later when they're talking about who might be the killer, and oh, we're gonna go and just beat their asses, and she's like, no, this isn't a movie. You can't just walk, you know. And he's like, well, we better figure something out, otherwise we're all gonna be 50% off. Like,
yeah, that was great. I love that line.
Oh my god.
Like just all, I feel like there's a couple more like that I forgot, but that shit just so silly. But I think because like, I wonder if, let's say this was Eli Roth's first movie and we don't really know what's up, if that would get the pass that it does. Because I feel like if you made a movie and you wrote that, you'd get raked through the coals.
Bro, they'd be like, this dumb bitch.
Like,
you know what I mean?
What a stupid line. But I think because we know, and it's like he's already got a rapport and a pedigree, you're like, you know what? That works. Like, you can see the humor in it.
Because you know where it's coming from. But I mean, if it wasn't somebody like him, you look at this movie and be like, they're all over the place. Like, this movie is like, what the fuck is going on? Because it's so like hard to watch, but then it's funny. It's almost like we were talking about Terrifier 3, hard to watch, really funny parts. You know what I mean? So I guess it's kind of like, toes the same line.
Yeah, I'd put it more, if I was going to compare it in terms of like humor, more in the like a Quentin Tarantino kind of, where it's like some serious content, or not content, I shouldn't use that word, but there's still a lot of humor within it. But I guess we're kind of making the same point. But
the subject matter, it can be heavy.
Yeah.
On Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah,
absolutely.
but there's still like funny stuff in it. And yeah, he just weaves it in so well. And it's obvious that it is played for like the guy with the slit throat trying to get the waffle. You know what I mean? It's like, obviously that's played for laughs. There's even a great behind the scenes video of them in like their little office conference writing room or whatever, and he's acting out that scene and everyone's just like laughing and losing their shit. It's hopefully it's on YouTube still. You gotta like find it. Maybe it's on Instagram, but excuse me, sorry, damn.
You're good.
But yeah, this whole opening scene is just fantastic. The mayhem, the broken arm, Gina Gershon getting her head crushed and scalped with the
Oh my god.
And I'm glad that they established that pretty quick. Like, he's like, hey, there's going to be some gore in this, just like the good old days.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that.
So you know exactly like this is what it is. All right. We're down for the ride. Can I just say, Rick Hoffman, what a great surprise.
Yes.
Because I don't know what it is about him, but I was just like, oh man. And I for sure was like, oh, he's gonna like, But
yeah, I thought that
they
too.
played his character to like have such growth. It was so weird. I'm like, his character arc through the entire movie. I'm just like, wow. He's not a bad guy.
He has redemption.
He has redemption.
He redeems himself.
The dad. Like, he's like, at the beginning, he's like, oh, it's security guards, whatever. And then he completely redeems himself throughout the movie. And I'm like, wow, like they did that in this movie. It was wild.
And he's great. He's such a vibe. Like, he's so unique. Just his voice, his look, like, man. And I'm watching it and it's making me think of like, obviously, you have to think about Hostel, that scene with him, which is like probably the best scene in the first movie. Wow. Is the dialogue with him. It's so good. I mean, we talked about it in our podcast, right? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, seeing him in there, and I do really like that moment when he apologizes to his daughter about everything.
So just clarifying, he's the dad of like the owner of.
Yeah, he's the owner of the.
So this is all his fault. His wife talked him into it.
His wife was
his new wife.
Steph. Yes.
And she's another one where she gets the worst death, right?
That was brutal. And I honestly started, I was telling my Ian as I was watching it, I was like, honestly, her like survival instinct is amazing, and I actually kind of like didn't want her to die at certain points.
I know, because you're like, wow, like
I was actually rooting for her.
Like she's like holding still. Like,
she's like really smart. She's really smart. So you kind of feel like bad, but she did, she was awful, like really selfish and greedy.
Yeah,
but
I mean, they definitely painted her to like suck, right? Like she was if there's anyone in this movie that's like by design, designed for you to not like, it's
like
her.
Heartless. Yeah.
But I think they could have pushed it further, because she sucked, but she wasn't like for
like
me like terrible, and not enough to get like cooked alive in an oven.
Oh my
God. I do have to say, because I knew, I'm like, he's gonna do it. That's alluded to in the trailer. And then in this trailer, like, he's gonna do that kill. Like, that's where we're gonna get the most. Like, this is where the director of Hostel like makes a return.
Oh my God.
But I have to say though, I didn't feel like he overdid it, and it wasn't like overindulged. It was like just in the pocket of being like tasteful and giving you enough, like, you get the idea. This shit is terrible and you would never want to go out this way, and it's scary, but it doesn't linger and last on it too long. It actually goes kind of quick. Like it's cut and put together in like a pretty quick way.
I will say it was still watchable, even as grotesque and as horrifying. It was still watchable, and the little
the thermometer thing.
It popped up when she was done.
That was hilarious. It was like a weird tension reliever, as horrifying. Yeah.
Because that was when we were getting to that moment in the theater. That was honestly for me one of the
You're sitting with your dad. You're like, oh shit, coming guys.
Luckily, that was my second time. So I already the first time, I'm like doing this thing, like okay, this ready, which doesn't happen often nowadays, But yeah,
I mean it's wild because I guess I expected there to be much more like melting skin and blistering.
Yeah, I thought
so that's where I thought it was going to be. But when you think about, I don't know how they simulated this. I don't want to know. I mean, I guess we do it all the time when we cook a turkey. But it was. I guess it's more like you heat up from the inside out, so it wasn't as much, skin deteriorating as you thought. That was, of course, your mind comes up with way worse.
Yeah.
I mean, he did put butter on her.
He did put it.
So he did bake.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, listen, if that's a secret, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I should have said
Oh my goodness.
But man, when he brought her out, and I think that part too, because I mean, it was almost like they cut to everybody's reactions of him bringing her out and putting her on the table, and I was just like just screaming, and then he goes and he just cuts.
That part
That's
is so gross.
Oh my god!
And it looks like a slice of turkey.
It looks like
it does.
And it's just all crispy. I'm like, and he put the little what are those little chef hat?
Oh
things?
yes,
on
on the toes. Oh my god.
But I like when he reveals the head on the plate.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's a really great looking head effect, and it reminded me so much of Jason's mom's. The head of Jason's mom in Friday the 13th Part 2. It had very much that vibe and aesthetic in the second movie when the head's on the display. But I loved too, they're getting the Instagram
that was great.
Photos or whatever of the table is set and then you see a picture of the dead body. And I was immediately like, oh, we're going to do the happy birthday to me ending. And then of course, obviously we get there and we do. I'm like, oh shit, there you go. But total pass. Do the happy birthday to me ending. Very good. I love it. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Have you seen that movie? Oh, we talked.
I'm
watch it.
It's a horror fan.
No. It's a pretty good slasher. For me, it's not.
Is it
one
80s
of my
or?
It's 80s. Yeah.
Love 80s.
But yeah, that ending, it's the same kind of idea where everything's revealed in the end, and it's all the bodies of the victims are at the table, and there's a birthday cake, and they have birthday hats on, and they're all dead.
Oh god!
So it's literally the same fucking setup.
We love that.
We do. I mean, for me, having not seen that, my thing was oh, this is total Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes, just because you have there's a little bit of that, but probably more of a reference to
Well, definitely. For me, a big Texas Chainsaw moment is when the stepmom is trying to escape.
You think she makes it out?
When she opens the fridge and the chick's in there with the bag.
God,
still alive.
Yeah,
that felt very Texas Chainsaw.
Oh, the wine, yeah.
The way they, I love that had me cracking up when he takes the corkscrew to her throat
and the cork pop.
Oh my god. That was amazing.
Breathe a little bit.
I'd let it breathe, yeah.
And because she's freshly dead, I guess.
Oh my goodness. I really did. I did like how they said. I will say though, at the beginning, and I was really happy about our first kill because I was like, what? I was like, when they were doing all the cuts, no arrest, nobody's been charged, nobody's done this, and I'm just like, man, everybody's just going up, living their normal lives after killing people last year, including her, including our first kill. And I thought not the first kill, but the first kill, In
the diner?
Yeah.
That one?
Oh, that was amazing.
And I was like, oh, man, I really like that. I really like that one.
They really make me suspend disbelief, though, when the dumpster lid closing cuts her in half.
We laughed at that so hard.
Yeah,
I was like,
what?
fuck off.
No fucking way.
It was
and
funny,
then they put her on
Yeah.
top of the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That was... Oh.
The face on the door of the walk-in is great though. That is,
yes.
And the skin peeling off, that's a good.
Well, and the fact that he wet her
and then she tries to unlock her. She's
and the face
not recognized.
Yeah. The way they integrate modern technology into this is so fun.
Yeah, that was really fun. I really liked that one.
You were mentioning like use of technology, and that's kind of a funny thing that, especially like trying to write stuff nowadays that you have to be accountable for is that like you have to come up with the reason. Okay, why wouldn't they call the cops on the scene?
Exactly. Against the suspend your disbelief.
It's like they have to like put in a reason, which is a little bit of a bummer, but that was a good way to do it. Like the bloody fingers and the face recognition. Like that was perfectly in the pocket. I did think at first, until we see the killer, that the new cop that comes into town in the beginning, the big dude, that it was going to be him.
Well, he puts the mask on immediately.
I could get used to this or whatever.
Yes.
But
and also he just had like a very troubled essence about him when he comes in.
You had a vibe, like yelling at the other guy. I like later when they're like, "Oh, have you met Detective Chew or whatever?" And he's like, "Oh yeah."
Now that I think of it, he totally was the red herring, because otherwise I don't know what other purpose he really had.
Yeah.
But did he discover? I'm trying to remember what he.
Well, and the waitress was like, "He's not very talkative. We don't like this one."
Yeah. The only thing that like when I figured it wasn't him is just like when.
Well, he's also tall.
He was pretty big. So
yeah.
when John Carver first shows up to kill the diner lady, I'm like, okay, it can't be him because he was like a pretty big dude.
Stature was.
But then they have the ex-boyfriend come back, the one who broke his arm. He came back.
They really try to paint it that way. I never thought it though. I was like, there's no way it's him, and he was too like small.
No,
he wasn't very like tall and big. He was like too small.
Yeah.
And that was one that it's like, no, that's too easy. That's too obvious. Yeah. At best, he'll be an accomplice. And it'll be two killers, but there's no way it's just him solo. Even though he's got all the motive, he's got a lot of reason to be mad.
Ruined his high school career of like being the golden arm, was it?
Golden
it was
arm,
his arm. It was that arm that
got busted.
Snapped.
It's funny too that he's such a baseball star that they did a segment about him on the news, like, and Bobby hasn't been seen in a whole year ever since he lost his little baseball career. It's like, wait, he's still just a high school kid, right?
Right?
like he's that important to the town.
There's a ton of different schools out here, right? Like, what's going on?
Like, he was that badass at high school ball.
Speaking of high schoolers, though, man, that kill. The one at the rival school when he's like going through, he's like, "Good job, guys."
Hanover.
And the girl, Hanover. And then the girlfriend's like, "Come here, I got a surprise for you." She goes on the trampoline, just snaps his neck, takes panties off the trampoline.
Oh gosh.
I thought that was shot really cool, by the way, because I was like, "Oh my god!"
There's like the spotlight on it. Yeah, very stylish.
Oh my god!
And I was pleasantly surprised that Eli Roth did not go for the trailer idea,
the original one.
which was that she would, sit on her.
Oh, stop! I know.
Yeah, I was grateful for that, and also like it was really like I did not think about how she would probably collapse and just bounce back onto the freaking knife again a bunch.
Oh my
god!
God.
I love that.
I was like, whoa, fuck.
Well, it's so quick, but I realized it like goes through her like heel, and then she like hits it again, and then is bouncing on it repeatedly.
Oh my god!
And her chest, I think at one point, her back. Yeah. But then she survives it, right?
Yeah, apparently.
It makes sense. I don't think any vital, but major organs were hit. Shit.
Oh man, that one
tracks.
I was like, ooh.
What did you guys feel about the I guess John Carver, like the name and the look and the mask?
Amazing. It looked kind of like a Guy Fawkes.
I was going to say, I
did
Vendetta. Literally say that to Ian. It was very V for Vendetta.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see that.
I did see it.
But that's also because of the hat, with the black hat and everything's covered. But I mean, I was like, wow, brilliant. Brilliant. John Carver and the mask, and then Thanksgiving, and we're at Plymouth Rock. Like, wow.
I never did look up if he was actually a figure in the town either.
No, apparently it's John Carver was the real name of like the first mayor or something. Yeah. So they were trying to come up with it. They were doing history on the town or whatever.
Fantastic.
Him and I forgot his friend's name that he co-wrote it with, but they came up with the idea when they were in like school, like kids. So it's
Eli Roth and him?
Eli Roth and his friend who he co-wrote it with.
Wow.
But yeah, when they were doing like research and figuring out, they're like, oh shit, like the actual name of the dude was John Carver.
Wait.
Like perfect.
No, it's like, yeah. You like
that was like coincidence that he just picked this guy. Did he even know that he was a guy that was of significance there, or
no? They figured that out later as they were just kind of researching.
Okay, that's crazy.
Like when they first came up with the idea, I think when they were young, I don't think they knew that. Even when they did the Grindhouse Thanksgiving trailer, he was saying he's like, yeah, we just called him the Pilgrim. There wasn't a name.
Yeah,
but we had to come up with something for the movie.
Yeah,
and they found out in history that was a real figure.
John Carver came over on the Mayflower.
It works on a couple levels, right? Because like carving turkey, and then obviously carving people, and just John Carver.
It just has that John weight Carver. Of like the town like legend or something. It does.
Man, yeah, it's meant to be, and you know, it's no easy feat. Like he's obviously like, hey, you know, we haven't had a good like slasher movie 80s style in a long time. These movies are fun. Let's do this, bang it out. And something that comes along with it is you've got to have like the killer, and it's got to be iconic to some degree. So you've got to be on point with your design and your look. And I think they did a really good job, man. Like, yeah, just the simplicity of the black kind of jumpsuit and the design of the face of the mask. Like the eyes are what do it for me.
Oh, yeah. Because you can see weird, like the little like reflections on the inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's just like that uncanny valley kind of look is super odd. And of course what did Capitan hat or something?
Probably right.
But one thing I really thought was cool that elevated it, but they don't really take it very far, is when he puts the mask on the oven
and it melts.
And it melts, and he puts it on so it has this burn look, and there's this great shot of him in the mirror and all this stuff's obscuring it. But then he takes it off like before he goes to the dinner. I was like, dude, that's the look. Like, keep the burn.
I thought that was like him fully realizing, like poke evolving into his final form.
Yeah,
but then he had the other mask.
Yeah, it looks so cool. I'm like, oh, why did you get a brand new one? Just keep the burnt one.
I mean, it's kind of like Chucky with the scar, or like, you know, Freddy Krueger is like all burned up. Yeah. It's like that, like full, like this is who you are.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I love that movie. I couldn't remember. I watched it again, and I was just like, dude, I was watching it. I was like, I didn't remember there being so many kills.
The first,
yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't remember it being so bloody violent and crazy.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent kill count.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, we got to talk about, what's the comedian guy's name? Tim Dillon, the security guard.
Oh, the one that runs.
I love that.
The beginning.
With the cat.
With the cat.
I was going to say.
I love the cat.
That was Chef's kiss.
That was so cute.
He feeds the cat. The killer feeds the cat.
Cat's like, no. And he's like, aw.
It's like the save the cat moment for the killer.
Yeah.
Well, I love when the cat's like just on the counter in the kitchen. I think that's the same cat they use in the Pet Sematary remake.
Oh, amazing.
I'm pretty sure
I
read that at some point that it's the same cat. Which you remember the Pet Sematary remake, like the movie, whatever, but that shot in the trailer of like the cat all like weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, what a good little actor cat. But I love when he's like, Dewey, where is he? Where is he? And the cat just looks and he's like, oh, he's in there. It's so good.
So good.
And talking special effects, that was another really good prosthetic head. When he puts the head on the plate, I'm like, that was a good looking
yes.
Whoa, what do you call it? Like builds?
Cast?
I don't know. Cast, yeah.
Yeah.
It looked really, really good.
It did.
All of them, everything. Like, yeah, the effects in this were really good. They're like very nicely done.
It was a cool kill too, because he takes like the piano wire and decapitates him.
Yeah.
Ooh. Dang.
But I love that. I love that he fed the cat. I was like, that's cute.
That was really like I think he even pets him.
Yeah, he scratches him and dips out.
Oh my God. Likeable killer. What more could you ask for?
Exactly. Exactly. And then when we get the reveal after, like, you know, she escapes and they're in the John Carver house.
Oh, the daughter of the, of
and
the
then she's like looking and she sees, and I'm just like, oh man. She clocked it. I was like, she's so close. She could just be on her way to the fucking hospital. He's not going to kill her yet. You know what I mean? And then you think that, like, oh, she maybe covered up. And he looks down. He's like,
oh, yeah.
The boots gave it away.
The boots, yeah.
Because, yes, the daughter basically, like, escapes this horrible Thanksgiving meal with all her friends and family and anybody else involved that this killer's got the out for because they were involved in this horrific murder, stampede, Black Friday sale, and they had the goal to have it again. And
yeah, he wanted to cancel it.
He did end up
sad. I'm like
redeeming himself and canceling, but they were not about to until it
took a while.
Until enough people were getting killed and hurt, and his family's lives were on the line. That he finally was like, no, I'll cancel. But it was too late.
It's too late. Do you think because, like, what's his name? Her dad had the redemption story throughout. Like, is that why they didn't kill him? Because, like, he redeemed himself.
No, he was going to kill him for sure.
100%.
Yeah, I think
but
he was
in the movie, they didn't kill him in the movie.
Yeah,
you know
well,
I mean?
he was torturing him. Like, he wanted him to eat his fucking wife first.
100%.
Like, he was definitely going to kill him. But
yeah.
I think he was going to torture him.
Eli Roth didn't kill him in the movie. Do you know what I'm saying?
Not on screen. We did not see that resolution. Or like, yeah.
So he didn't get killed.
Yeah, no, he lived.
Yeah, he lived. He goes to the hospital. Mm-hmm. But I was just like, I wonder if they're like setting it up. I mean, obviously, because they couldn't find him at the end of the day. Like, you know,
he leaves it open.
You have to have somebody.
Just in case anyone wants to franchise it. Just in case. Which, funny enough, I have a feeling it won't happen for this.
Right.
Not for
some
this.
reason.
You think they're going to make it a Christmas thing or something?
No, I think they just won't. I just think it won't happen. I don't know why I feel that way, because everything is sequels and franchises, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, this one that's like by design kind of meant for that and open for it because that's like the slasher thing to do.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling it's not going to happen. I don't know.
Maybe they won't.
You know.
Maybe they'll do it a different holiday, though.
And if it, but the point is that it's Thanksgiving. That's the thing, though. Like, that's the point. Like, you know, all the holidays have been done. Thanksgiving wasn't done. Like,
I mean, they did have Thanksgiving, guys.
Yeah, they
I did not watch
They
that,
did.
though.
There's another Thanksgiving themed horror movie called like The Pilgrim.
The Pilgrim.
The Pilgrims.
Yeah, that was
From,
that
like,
one
just
was done a
several
few
years
years
ago.
ago, right? Yeah.
You know, it's funny too. Like when we go to the end, like we know it's Patrick Dempsey, the cop. That's his real accent, by the way, which is interesting.
Bro, can I just say he was like the only? How come none of those kids had any accents? But they all grew up there.
Yeah, good question. I don't know.
Well, I feel like there's a lot they did in the casting and the performances of these actors too. Again, still kind of hearken to the, I guess, stereotypical like teenage high schoolers that we want to see killed in a horror film. I mean, I could be wrong on this. I'm sure there's some horror film where you see Boston kids or something getting killed, but I just feel like, for example, one thing in the casting is that these are clearly that trope of having 20, 30, nearly 30 somethings playing teenagers. So I was like, okay, that's definitely a choice. And it makes it feel very much like it really reminded me of like, I Know What You Did Last Summer to a degree and Scream. So I feel like as much as like it was cool because watching it, I was like, I get so much nostalgia from watching this film I'd never seen before because it felt 80s slasher, but also a little bit like elements of 90s, but also a little bit elements of 70s. It was like really cool. And again, it just felt, for lack of a better word, nostalgic. So there's that aspect. I feel like they were going with the traditional like California or standard American accent, maybe for a reason. I don't know. Maybe to distinguish them from like some of the like other town locals that were involved that, I'm not sure though, but that's a great ass point. And I think we did mention that when we were watching. We were like, it's interesting how they kind of just have American standard.
It's like they were like, you know what? In another movie from the 80s, they would have not worried about this and just let everyone speak the way
they're like, but Patrick, like,
so let's just do that too.
Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Because they'll be talking about your bad accents more than they'll be talking about your no accents. You know?
Yeah.
That's a point. That's for sure. Oh, and then there's, again, the girl who I was saying earlier, the blonde, who was like, I don't know, I felt like she wasn't like that terrible. Like, I wish that they had kept up the shtick of her being this like annoying, self-absorbed girl that was going to get killed, and you feel the lead up, and it is funny that he pretty much seems to, except for the piano wire, and I'm sure there's a thing or two else, that he pretty much kills them with accoutrement from a Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
And so when he gets like the corn things, and I feel like we've all thought of that. Like,
right? Could you imagine? But
I love how initially though, and it's too bad that the trailer kind of ruined that.
Yeah.
Because they really, and this is like, I'm taking this lesson from Eli, is like, he's making you think it's going to be something that has to do with her eyes because they just get these close-ups of her putting the contacts in and they do it like 3 times. So you're like, okay, the next kill is going to be these, her eyes are getting gouged out, I guess. And then we get the ear and they do like the close-up of the Q-tip.
Which was foreshadowing.
Yeah, but that was a great moment. And I love when there's a part, I don't know if you noticed, but when she's like, Dad, or something like that. And she opens the door and he's standing right there. And she just like walks by him and he just
because she doesn't have her one contact in that eye. Yeah. She only has it in this, but she can't.
I didn't even connect that. I just thought I'm like
she can't see.
That makes sense though.
Dang.
Yeah. But I loved that part. Oh man, yeah.
Now her.
And her kill.
It's such a great kill. I love the shot of like her fingers going through it first.
I know. I know. And then she's just like on there stuck and they got to get her. She's just, her body is
what do I do? What do I do?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, what do you do?
I do appreciate as well that all of a sudden they don't turn into action heroes. Like they make the decision after their other 2 friends go missing, right? Of like, all right, the cops aren't doing it. We got to go. Like now we're going to go to the McCarty party and we're going to get the guns. And I really love that character. I did like that character and his little friend. And
you got to have those quirky characters. And that's something they did really well. Like the brainiac kid that was doing the papers for the guy that really got his comeuppance. That was recording the whole stampede. That was so good. These weird quirky characters. Good. Oh, yeah. That was...
And
McCarty party.
How you get that? It's like the humor with getting the guns and this and that. But then there's a hint of a seriousness to it of like, hey, like take care of yourselves, make sure you're good, make sure you know how to use it, don't shoot your dick off or whatever. And you know, again,
stay alive long enough.
He's also oddly the voice of reason, McCarty.
Yeah, no, definitely. And they even bring up the point earlier where I think it's in this movie where they say like, you've never even shot a gun or done anything. And I like that. So. It cost him when he like has the say and doesn't know what to do.
The safety. Oh my God, of course.
And that was it.
Because that's very realistic.
I appreciate that. Like in that moment, you're not even, and they don't know what they're doing. Like never fired a gun before. Yeah. And so I like that. Yeah, I like that all of a sudden they're not just like super powered and shit. And like, yeah, I appreciate that.
They're not all CIA, FBI agents all of a sudden know how to.
It's funny. I kind of like, even though his characters can be obnoxious, I do like the way he, right? Because I feel like in a way, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but I can tell it's him. Like they do remind me, these characters, the kid characters, of like the group from Cabin Fever. You know, it's a similar vibe, or like the guys from Hostel. You know, I can see that kind of through line with them. Like, okay, this is a similar voice without just being identical to what's been done in the past. You know? You know, that parade's a good scene. And you don't know
oh
who
my
it's gonna
God.
Be.
Oh my God.
When the ship goes through that dude's.
Oh, the head and the kids are in the car. They're like,
God.
And they're just throwing the blood on the kids.
Oh my. Dude, it makes me think of like child actors, bro. Like your mom was on set for that. You know what I mean? They're like, all right, guys. Like.
Yeah, they had to do the like the film set school with the little teacher that's required. And they're like, all right,
how do we normalize this for them?
Time to get up here. I want to throw a bunch of corn syrup on you.
That was that was great.
It's so brutal and gory, but yet like fun. I don't know. It's funny when they're getting the blood thrown on them.
I'm like, how do we explain that? I don't know how to explain this to people. Because, you know, obviously my family is very, very, very religious on the other side. And they're like, how do you watch it? I'm like, I don't know how to explain how I watch this, but it's still a fun, not serious thing. It's not like, oh my God, that guy's hit. It's like, oh my God, look what they did. That's crazy.
Agreed.
That's crazy.
There's also like a Final Destination aspect to like the kill. It's a couple of the kills, and the parade being one of them. I feel like it just created this whole commotion where the guy loses his head. Somehow a car accident happens, and it's all like it felt like at least 2 other deaths happen. I think in the havoc and the chaos of it. And so I was like, oh yeah, totally like Final Destination vibes too.
A little Rube Goldberg situation.
Oh yeah, so good. But yeah, this movie, man. And I mean, obviously at the end, we find out he was having an affair with the lady. And she was pregnant with his baby. Because I mean, I think like they would be like, okay, like listen, the stakes got to be higher than that you're having an affair with this woman. How can we make them?
Yeah.
You guys are going to start a family. All right. There was a baby in the oven. All right. You ruined his entire life. All right.
That's yes.
And then he's missing.
Yeah, I love to. There will be no leftovers. That's another one of those lines.
So I love
there will be
it.
no leftovers.
Yeah, that was totally like Jack Nicholson, like Shining kind of thing with the crazy hatchet.
Yeah, the axe.
Or the axe, yeah. Like going into the I don't know what it's like the parade or like
the warehouse where they park the floats and stuff.
And her ex-boyfriend comes and helps save her because he was going to pin it all on him. Mother effer. And then he disappears. He got blown up and then disappeared.
Well, nothing could have survived that. Okay.
Sure.
I didn't quite get it. So she shot the big balloon thing
with the musket because there's this whole thing about her learning
they set it up
for the musket.
And it was filled, I guess, with like helium. And that's like
combustible,
flammable. Yeah.
But again, I asked Ian, I was like, "Do you think that would?" And he's like, "That would," because it was her lock. She has this locket that's like her mother,
right?
And he's like, it just would have been a high velocity locket thrown at the thing, so it wouldn't necessarily. But it was fun. Again, it was one of those. I'll suspend my disbelief, but very
a big explosion at the end.
Exactly.
Yeah, I did think, I have to be honest, like the last shot of it's a little weird to me where it's the fake dream. He comes and grabs her, obviously a dream. But then it cuts back to her in the bed and just like looking at the door and it kind of
Well, that's
ends
the thing.
there.
I was like, ooh, like they didn't even like have it like the door move a little bit or like hear anything. It was just like the door
pushes in.
Yeah, and that was it. I thought it was kind of strange too because I'm like,
I do get kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street vibes with the dream sequence, but that's also just a trauma thing that they'll probably put in a lot of horror. But of course that
comes to mind too. Like when she gets pulled through the fucking little window on the door.
Oh yeah,
it very much reminds me of that. Yeah,
because at the end of the first Nightmare, she gets pulled through like the door window or something.
The mom does.
And it's clearly like a blow up doll.
Amazing.
Yeah, I feel like I interrupted you. Or you were gonna say?
Oh no. I loved it. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Would watch again.
I remember like the first time seeing it. And then, I mean, it's just the Black Friday thing and Patrick Dempsey. And he's like, oh no. And he's looking at all the chaos. And he's like, stop. And he fires the gun up into the ceiling. And it just cuts to like freeze frame red. And
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. The title bleeds down. And I just remember some dude in the theater was like, yes. And like Klaus, like solo just, yeah. And it was the funniest thing. I was like, oh, this movie just automatically got like 3 times better.
Right?
That man is so happy. And I'm just smiling too. I'm like, I felt exactly how he did, but I didn't say it out loud because I'm by myself and it's just kind of weird. But no, man, I really dig it. And what I appreciate about this movie, and I've definitely talked to Carissa about this before because when we were pitching something almost a year ago. Man,
oh my God.
What a bummer. Yeah. I brought up an idea I wanted to do, so I did an impromptu, like, well, here's another idea I'm like made up earlier. Like, and I brought up this movie, and that's one aspect I love about it. Like, I brought it up in terms of, I want to do this slasher movie thing, and it seems like maybe it's just dead and long gone, and now we're in quote unquote elevated horror.
Oh my God.
Which I hate that term as much as I hate the term torture porn. But But I brought up this movie. I was like, yo, Eli Roths just dropped Thanksgiving. It seemed to be successful, money-wise and box. So I don't think it made like shit tons of like Avengers money, but it did well. It profited and people are enjoying it and people are having fun with it. And it, again, like Eli Roths set out to do, reminds us how fun these movies were.
So much fun.
And they can be like scary and gory, but you can laugh and it just is perfect. It's right in the pocket of like perfection for horror fans. And so I cited this as a reference, and I'm glad that it exists and exists at this time, so I can continue to use it as a reference. And it's very inspiring, and I love that and I say this with all the love in the world, it doesn't do anything new for the genre.
That's
doesn't bring
the
anything new to the
thing,
table.
yeah.
Like it even wears some of the influences on its sleeve, but it still works.
so good for that,
Yeah,
though.
it still works.
The formula
very
works.
well. Yeah. And even in just the simplicity of like, taking these beats, like even, all right, 1 year later and it's the news and then the laptop closes and you just see all this shit on the walls and he's like sharpening the engine, like classic, that's in, walks out. Just very well done. And I'm glad that, it still works. Like you said, man, and you get, again, your inciting incident within the first 10 minutes, you get your kills, plural in this one, you get your event, and, it's formulaic, but just still a banger of a movie.
And still so fun to watch and like still
Wow.
so new. It's still formulaic, but it's still just like, damn, like we know what's going to happen. I feel like this is like the one genre where we know it's going to happen, but we're still excited and waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I honestly, based off of the original like Grindhouse trailer, would not have thought about including a Black Friday massacre. And I
Yeah.
love that they did that. And again, it was just a really great impetus to like give it like a through line and some heart and like make it make sense. Ian did say like the way that the Grindhouse trailer kind of presented it, it almost just seemed like some, the trope of like any urban legend where it's an escape maniac from the insane asylum. And he does think that in a sense that would have been even more terrifying because it's just a maniac killing at random at will, like no method to the madness whatsoever. But I really do think the artistry of creating a story with giving this antagonist something that is like a need or a want, which is to be loved, does kind of like give it a full circle and gives it more depth than just a
you can definitely tell, like, what you're explaining with like the maniac is very Black Christmas, Halloween, many other examples.
Yes.
Like, and you can tell in that original trailer, like that's exactly the vibe, but with that 70s grindhouse, like grit aesthetic. But the one thing I like too, and where I'm going with like my idea is that you get, some of the slasher movies that are very much based out of vengeance,
Yes.
Pamela Voorhees is out for revenge. Freddy Krueger's out for revenge. The guy from The Burning is out for revenge. The Prowler, I think, if I remember correctly, out for My Bloody Valentine. Like, there's all of that.
Yes.
And I think a little Giallo influence too. Like there's always some kind of, someone was wronged and they're out to wreak havoc, and you nailed it perfectly earlier too. You mentioned how it has like the 80s influence, but also some of that 90s kind of thing too. And I agree with that completely, with like some moments of like 70s
There is,
style
I don't know how to explain
thrown
it.
in,
But
just sprinkled in. So he really covers the range.
they did like a timelessness with it, like especially in the high school scenes. They just felt timeless, but still, kind of touching on all those decades that we love for like horror and thrillers and everything.
I've been wanting to like maybe do a series where I could, because there's a lot I haven't seen, but where I do like 90s era. So I want to do like urban legend.
I love those.
I Know What You Did Last Summer. I still know. Valentine.
Dude,
I know there's like way more. There was like
yeah.
a plethora of them, like Scream. Well, Scream is its own like other thing that I want to do, but I
there is,
haven't done yet.
there's
I feel like there's a
lot.
bunch. Like
There's a
an
lot.
era.
And
Like
they've
it'd be
gotten to
fun to
that-
do like the 90s era and then
That
like
would
the
be great.
2000s.
You
like,
should do that
the
and like do like
decades.
how it's like different. When was
Yeah.
like all the like Pulse and all those movies coming out where it's like that dark
yes.
gray film, like everything had that dark gray overcast on it, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, shit.
I agree with that. I feel like you could probably even like on a psychological element be like, what was happening at that time? And I'm sure you could map on certain events and places
God,
of the
could you
zeitgeist.
imagine?
That-
You're like, what the fuck?
No, that is the great thing about
yes.
horror, and like where like the sensibilities and what different countries do at different times and what's happening.
Well,
like
on terror, the war on terror, I feel like
Oh, yeah.
probably speaks to a lot of
oh
what we
yeah,
saw.
Vietnam was a big one, you know. I mean, Hostel, I think owes a lot to that, like the post 9/11 war on terror
traveling,
era. Like,
Yes.
all of that. There's always, you know, and then when you get movies like Last House on the Left, you know, that's like, we're in the Manson era. You know, we went from all the hippie love shit to like, shit just got real crazy. And you know, and then you get into the satanic panic type stuff. That was another big thing in that era. Like, there's always...
You get the psychedelic drugs, and you get the technology taking over, and it's full of ghosts and killer, you know what I mean?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Like, I'm sure because of, you know, obviously we just had elections, and I don't want to dive into this, but I think someone, because of what we're going through right now, at least one person's going to give us a really dope horror movie in a couple years. Within this 4 years, someone's gonna give us something fresh.
Something great will come out of it.
That's gonna be like a metaphor for. Yeah, I hope. Right.
It should be.
That's
Gonna
be some kind of So start thinking about that.
I know. Tonight.
Let's get to it, guys. Let's suffer real good, and then we'll come up with some great horror. Woo!
But all right. I guess we'll wrap it up here. Final thoughts, anybody?
Man, I like this movie even more seeing it a second time. Nice. Watching the small little things. This is such a fun movie. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, I get it. Watching it the second time and taking it all in, I'm like, this is a really, really good movie. And even watching it with Ben, not a big horror fan. He's like, I thought it was the girl, like the main girl. I was like, God, I was like, you just don't get anything, do you? But like, you know what I mean? It was fun watching it with somebody who doesn't know anything about horror. He's like, oh, it's definitely her. And I'm like, oh, honey.
That's interesting. I got to think. I
want to rewatch it with that lens now.
With that
because if you do, it looks like they kind of set it up, but not really, but they kind of do. So, I mean, there's certain points that I'm like, that's, you know.
Well, how do they kind of set it up?
Okay, so she's like, you know, the kind of like the level-headed character through everything, right? And she's watching all this stuff happen, but she's not saying much about anything. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it. So, like, at the beginning, she
could be the mastermind
at her dad
because of
it. Yeah, she's mad at the mother-in-law, you know, or she's like mad at all these people.
She could be acting out.
She's at all the places where people are getting killed, and then they get killed later.
That's actually fascinating. It wouldn't be like the poetic justice in the sense of like, like how it should play out in the film. But I think it's a really fun way to like watch it with that idea.
Yeah, and then he thought, God, who did he think it was next? He thought it was like the guy. I mean, he thought it was like another red herring, like the guy she ended up with at the very end, who was like,
I thought,
which I understand
that did make me feel, because he just had this kind of like, I don't know, not antisocial, but like sociopathic, like air about him.
The tall
weird
guy.
pick-me guy,
the pick-me guy, yes. Yes,
so, but
it
was
swooped in.
Yeah, but it was fun, like watching it with him and just hearing, you know, and seeing like how somebody who's not into horror would take this movie. And he's like, it was really good. I'm like, oh my God, I'm glad you liked it. So 2 thumbs up. I like this one.
I would say likewise. I would definitely watch it again. The kills were so fun, and like, maybe it wasn't like totally reinventing the wheel in the realm of horror and slashers particularly, but it gives you everything you want. It's like the ingenuity of the kills were really fun, and just, you know, again, like it doesn't, there's ways that it doesn't take itself too seriously, like the humor in it, and the ridiculousness. Like even just the image of that dumpster lid coming down and ripping that woman in half, slicing her in half. It brought me so much joy because of the ridiculousness. So it had, again, a little bit of that Tarantino, almost like cartoony aspect, at least at that point. So I thought it was such a blast to watch, even though like I did have a lot of apprehension in the beginning scene, eating my pizza and knowing there was going to be bloodshed.
Don't eat before watching this movie.
Well, or don't eat while watching.
Yeah, you're going to lose your stomach for turkey real quick.
Oh, yes. But I think, it's a great one to throw on before maybe, or way before, hours before, and not long enough for you to forget it by the time you start eating. But I would definitely watch again.
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I love it too. I think y'all covered it. Definitely a yearly watch for me. You know, I think lesson I take from it is that not that I don't think we should all strive for originality in pushing the envelope, but it's nice to know that we can make something that gives us what we want. Like you said, delivers it. Like it knows what it is. It's delivering what the audience wants to see. And I just really love and appreciate that. And I think Eli Roths, just go back to horror movies, dude.
Bro, get back in the horror movies.
Just,
we miss you.
Give us
We
another
miss
one.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
But yeah, that's a wrap on this one. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, wild turkey.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Drinks and a Movie podcast. You can now find us on Instagram at Drinks and a Movie Pod, where we'll be posting photos from all the various films that we discuss. You can also email us at drinksandammoviepod@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and thank you for listening.